good doctor?
I used to be. I won an award once from the mayor. Had an expensive frame.
They're all gonna die.
The day I get out of prison, my own brother picks me up in a police car.
It's the Al Travis Show. In with us today, we've got him, Representative Walter Hudson. Representative, how you doing today, my friend?
Fantastic. How about yourself?
Good. I've got no complaints. It's just, I'm thinking 2026 can't quite possibly ever live up to 2025. Just even if you go a little into 24 with, Biden getting out, Kamala getting in, President Trump getting shot. I mean, then you go through the whole everything in 2025 with you guys. Some not going. This year, it's like a smorgasbord for guys who do talk radio. I can't imagine 2026 being anywhere near as close. And you hit one on the head with X. Maybe it was yesterday. I saw it this morning, first thing, which I'd like to talk about if we could quickly. Friend, we had people on this show, Democrats, I'll throw it out there, who are getting on me about the mean Republicans shutting down our government and how much we don't care about the little people and, okay. And I'd sit there and say, wait a minute. Every Republican I know voted for the continuing resolution. 100%, they all voted for it. It's that and three of your folks we're just, whatever, 7 people short. Well, that's because the Republicans won't negotiate. I said, on a continuing resolution. What's the negotiation? We're going to continue on as is. Otherwise, we're just right back at square one. Let's go back. And they literally blamed the Republicans. Fine. They can have their side. Then, now as of today, it looks as if 7 of those folks joined the bandwagon, the Democrats. The government shutdown is going to be over. And I just loved your post, basically, paraphrase for you. How can it be that the Republicans shut it down, but it's the Democrats who are taking credit for bringing people back to work? Literally, sir, they slice the cake any way they want, and they still get the best piece, no matter what. You're shaking your head. How else can we frame that? Am I framing it wrong? But we don't win the argument, sir. The right doesn't win this argument. We're going to say, well, look at the Democrats saved us again. That's what's going to come out of this.
Well, for some people, for the loyalists, right? Okay. For the people who are stuck in a partisan political narrative, for folks who are discerning and objective and care about the truth, it's very obvious what's going on here, right? So, the entire, as you say, the Republicans in Congress, the Republicans in the Senate have consistently voted for a continuing resolution, which would have kept the government open. Democrats in the Senate denied the votes necessary in order for that continuing resolution to pass. Then they say that the reason we can't vote to keep the government open is because the Republicans won't negotiate. Well, that's a choice. That is a choice that you made. You made the choice to shut the government down in order to use that as leverage in order to get what you want. That is a choice you made. That's not a choice Republicans made. That's a choice you made. And that is made very, very clear by the fact that they are now capitulating to open the government without getting anything that they wanted. The only assurance that they have is that there will be a vote on what they want, which is great. That's fine. But they could have had that a month ago, right? And none of this harm, anybody who has suffered as a result of this shutdown now knows that the reason for their suffering is that the Democrats were hoping that suffering would serve as leverage to force Republicans to agree to something that Democrats wanted. They're the ones who made the choice to shut the government down. Yes. They're the ones who are making the choice to open it. The power has been with the Democrats the entire time. That's obvious. Because if it wasn't, and this is really the nail in the coffin, right?
Okay.
If the Democrats had no power in this situation whatsoever, and they were just victims of a Machiavellian scheme by Republicans, then they wouldn't be able to provide any votes now in order to make the government open. They've had this power the entire time. They've chosen not to use it.
You know this. You do this for a living. There are winners and losers in all of this, and who gets more out of it at the end. Here's my point. There are some very far left people who are so darn mad that this government is back open without getting what they wanted. So the left has to battle with their own side on the left. I will tell you, as I think, very conservative, at least fiscally conservative guy, I'm not happy that we went through this fight to just keep the government going at the same prices that we were paying when Biden got in. We're 10 months in. We're going to get back to regular order 12 bills so we can rip them apart and decide what we're all about. And I have been sold a bill of goods. So in the end, if the right's with me on this, the real righties that like your money, the right has lost something too. I'm not thrilled this was the fight we just had. Who wins in the long run?
Well, it's worse than that, actually, because right now the Republicans have the ability to do what we all want to see done. And however many days the federal government has been closed and however many days the Congress has been stuck in this stalemate, though, that's time on the clock that's been running down without the ball running down the field.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I mean, this is a loss for everyone. There are no victors in this, and I know that that's counter to the narratives that you're going to hear from other stakeholders. But I got to tell you the truth, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is that this is time lost for no reason and for no gain. That said, it remains true that the only reason it has been lost is because the Democrats decided to engage in this stunt.
Okay.
In order for Republicans to have put an end to it earlier, they would have had to negotiate with terrorists.
Okay, so let's do this. This ends January 30th. For folks, if this gets past what is supposed to be done today, tomorrow, the next couple of days when they get everybody flown back in, this only goes to January 30th. And in January 30th, can you tell me, Mr. Representative Hudson, what changes? We're right back in the same spot. They're going to say, well, we took a vote and all Republicans voted against giving, health care to illegal immigrants. Okay, we know that's how that's going to fall. We're right back in the same spot. What would make them go back and say, okay, this time we're going to shut it down for good? What are the Republicans going to have actual appropriations done by then so we can actually vote on real things that people want instead of a continuing resolution? What happens by January 30th? Your book.
Well, the only circumstance that's really different is that there won't be an imminent election. So this whole thing was an election stunt. And it was an election stunt, which, apparently, I mean, based upon the results, it apparently worked for the Democrats. And so that pressure or that incentive won't be there on January 30th. Whether or not that motivates them to be reasonable and accept their status as the party out of power is yet to be seen. I wouldn't put my money on it.
Fair enough. A lot of stuff going on here in the state. Thank you for chatting about that. I did love your post. If anybody wants to follow somebody who knows what's going on, go to X and follow Walter Hudson. We'll be back after this. We'll talk what's going on here in the state of Minnesota with Representative Walter Hudson right after this.
Hey, Brian, what do you call a lobbyist with a sense of humor?
Me?
Close. Momentum advocacy.
We help clients get real results at the Capitol with strategy, relationships, and just enough charm to make it fun.
From policy wins to media spots, we've got your back.
Nonprofits, businesses, coalitions, we've helped them all.
And we do it with nearly 90 years of combined experience.
Momentum advocacy.
As always, your friends at the Capitol. Learn more about our team at momentum-advocacy.com.
Tired of one-sided media and divisive noise drowning out your conservative values? Take back the conversation with Braver Angels. Join a grassroots movement to restore civility and find common ground without compromising your principles. As a conservative, your voice matters. Share your perspective on issues like immigration and public health in Red-Blue workshops and help rebuild trust in our great nation. Be a leader in depolarizing America. Sign up for free at mn.braverangels.org. Braver Angels, where conservatives, liberals, and independents unite for a stronger republic.
is in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
I've got him, Representative Walter Hudson, on the program with us today. I'm going to throw this out here, and I think maybe I've got an idea. Evidently, according to Carol Levin, this Erna Hammerschmidt, I get her name right, what started, she just went for a routine check for Medicaid billing, found out that this company, I've got it here somewhere, Community Care Partners, had been charging Medicaid $188.90 multiple times a week, claiming to actually see this person, and she had no idea who they were. Carol Levin got a hold of him and said, yeah, we fired that guy. We're not sure what he was doing. We fired the guy. I'm like, what, do you think he was stealing from Medicaid just to help the company out? Anyway, and then the auditor comes out, and they're going to look at why Governor Walz has spent $2.3 million to use Optum. I don't know about Optum. I don't know anybody else. I'm hoping it's complete and legit. And the very next story comes up. Multiple DFL legislators are very upset that this governor didn't push for an independent auditor. Take the $2.3 million you're going to give to Optum to look at 14 programs. You almost got an independent auditor paid for without doing anything. And here's my thing, is do we all, anyone of Medicaid age, need to contact somebody at Human Services and see if they're charging under my name? How would Erna have any clue company she never saw was making money on her? Should we all be calling in somewhere? That was my brilliant idea. I think maybe we got to, once a week, everybody make a call, see if anybody used your name this week.
Well, that's not our job, right? Like, this is the thing, is you can't trust the Walz administration. You can't trust your state government right now. This is why I call it a giant racketeering operation, because it's at the point where nobody's surprised when these stories come out anymore. And that is what that does is regardless of your political partisan viewpoint, it erodes trust in the institution. And when trust is eroded, listen, we've seen a lot of political violence over the course of the past year, but even going before that, we see all this discontent and people, families, people not willing to talk to their own families over politics and what have you. All this discontent is a direct result of people losing trust in their institutions. There is no loyal opposition anymore. And that's a choice. That's a choice that's made by governing poorly. That's a choice that's made by deciding to use your office for cynical, personal, political gains rather than actually serving the public.
How do we swing that around? I'm going to throw news out at this. Now, we're starting to get these news, finding one here, finding there. But on Thursday last week, the OLA came out, the legislative auditor, and said, we looked into the governor and lieutenant governor and found about 12 places where they weren't checking receipts. They're paying people back too much, not enough, whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And that was the end of that story. How is that not the lead? Let's dig in. Which were the people that got paid too much, which did not, which were the receipts and that sort of thing. But it all falls on deaf ears. And if you can't run your own office with any kind of dignity, clarity, I don't know, righteousness, how in the world can you expect the human services gal? This is the same guy, Walz, who came out and said when Feeding Our Futures came out, after they arrested these 70 people, was you realize no one working for the state government was charged with anything?
Yeah.
They didn't do anything either, as far as I can tell, except hand our money out. That's the bar for him. That's the bar for the state of Minnesota employees. Just don't get caught enough that you can go to jail.
Well, I don't even know that there is a bar, really. Okay. I mean, like the fact that nobody has faced any consequence. I mean, the only guy who you could argue faced consequence was the Housing Stabilization Services guy whose appointment conveniently ended the day before we were going to have a fraud committee hearing on housing stabilization services. They deny that was a firing. Okay, I'll take you at your word. That means you've fired nobody. There's nobody who you've held accountable for this. And we see story after story after story after story, including in your own office now.
No.
Of both the governor and the lieutenant governor. So, I mean, there's no math by which you can convince me, and I think most Minnesotans, that you take this problem seriously when you're not going to hold yourself accountable, when you're not going to hold your people accountable throughout any of your state agencies, when you're not going to demand better, which a demand requires consequence for failing
Right.
to abide. If you're not going to provide any consequences for the people who have enabled this to happen, who have managed it while it's taking place, then you're going to get more of it, and that's on you. And by the way, that same argument applies to voters here in Minnesota. If you're going to hire Tim Walz again to be your governor, you deserve this, and I have no sympathy for you.
Is there anything, you've got the fraud committee, which you're on, and I presume you're just stockpiling all these news stories and just putting them in an envelope until you get back to work in February. Is there anything the legislature can do? This is money given to Walz. Are you allowed to tell him how he can spend it, misspend it, misuse it? I mean, other than blatant put it in his own pocket, you know what I'm saying? Is there something that the legislative branch can do for what we just found out with the office of the governor? I don't even know.
I don't know to what degree. I mean, there's separation of powers, right?
Yeah,
So, to
that's
what
what I'm
degree can the legislature dictate how the governor administers his office and his agencies? There is a line there. I don't know how clearly it is defined, but the fact of the matter is, the solution isn't more rules. The solution isn't more statute books. The solution is putting good people in positions of authority. And that's the opportunity that sits before Minnesotans in 2026. They have an opportunity to tell Tim Walz to take a hike and replace him with someone who takes the job seriously. And by the way, they also have the opportunity to elect a majority legislature that will provide changes to law to actually systemically address this fraud that's been ongoing for years, and to do the right thing regardless of political optics, which is something that the current Democrat regime apparently has no capacity or desire to do.
Well, you're out there, and I can only know with the people I hang with and have hung with forever, and I saw what happened on Tuesday. I'm not feeling the electorate upset as much as I think it should be. When I do this on a daily, we're always talking about it, just drives me crazy. I don't know that I get that feeling. Do you? That they're to a point it's time to change?
Anecdotally, there are enough individual people who I've talked to who either used to vote Democrat or even in a few very prominent cases used to work for Democrats, right?
Oh,
Or campaign for Democrats who are definitely sick of it and are ready for a change. The national results that we saw on Tuesday were extraordinarily discouraging, particularly in Virginia. I mean, my God, you have now the chief law enforcement officer, the attorney general in the state of Virginia, who was caught, documented, saying that he would shoot one of his fellow legislative colleagues, and that he hoped to see his children of his victim die in their mother's arms. I mean, I don't know that there's a single comment made by a political figure that even comes close to how abhorrent that is. And Virginians just elected him to be their attorney general.
yeah.
That's extraordinarily discouraging. It does indicate that there seems to be a furthering of the partisan divide to the point where we have no standards for our own sides whatsoever, apparently. That's not good.
Yeah.
The question becomes how much, just like with this shutdown situation, how much pain are people willing to personally endure in order to uplift the power of their patrons?
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will, and we'll get you back on here next week. I appreciate it a ton, sir. I appreciate you taking time to be with me. Always a pleasure. He's Representative Walter Hudson on the Al Travis Show.